to Season 2 of the Chile Today podcast. I'm Bethany Francis. I'm living abroad, broadcasting from Santiago, Chile. I explore Chilean news, cultural topics, travel, business, and more with my special guests and our producer, Podcast Pengüino. To read more about the news topics you'll hear today, check out our news affiliate, chiletoday.cl. If you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. If you're feeling generous, rate and review. If you'd like to hear about a certain topic, have a story to share, or would like to ask a question, contact me directly through Instagram at Chile Today Podcast. Hi everybody, welcome to the Chile Today Podcast. I'm Bethany Francis, and I think you probably already heard that in the intro, but we have a really special episode for you today because we're allowing Pengüino to speak. And he is here with me for the special Halloween episode. Say hi, Pengüino.
Is that what a penguin does?
I don't think so. Does penguins make noises?
I know they do, but I don't know. I think I just did a dolphin.
You need to figure out what you're doing. I mean, he does speak, right? He's a very talented penguin. He's a Magallanes penguin. He does like the cold more than the heat. He has told me.
That is true. Well, who likes this heat?
You know, right now, I mean, if you're listening from Santiago, you're realizing we're finally getting some heat. Right now, I think it's kind of fine. I'm still wearing pants. I'm not wearing shorts inside my home yet. So that's when I'm like, everything's fine. Once I have to like open every window, have a fan on me, eat ice in like the summer, then that's when I'm like miserable. But I used to do that. I used to blend ice in a blender. At first I was like, I'm going to make a margarita. And then I was like, no, I can't drink in the middle of the day because I have classes. I'm a fucking professional. So I'm just going to like blend some ice and just eat it throughout the day to stay cool.
I just put my head inside the freezer.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. But it's really hard to do that while you have classes.
Yeah, it's not ideal for a Zoom.
No,
inside
just
the
while
fridge.
you're in class. Just like be like, I'm here, profe. Please, I'm here. Just ignore the hum of the freezer. Yeah, no. Living without air conditioning in the middle of Santiago summer is it's something else, I'll tell you. It takes a little getting used to.
Yeah, especially since, well, here in Chile, we've never been very much of an air-conditioned place.
Yeah.
Except for big stores at least in my experience here in Chile. Well, I'm from Chile, so you know. But I've never like, I remember... Even it gets really hot and there's never been an air conditioning kind of thing. Just opening up the windows.
Right, which I think is fine. Like, I probably can't handle it as much because I did grow up with air conditioning. And everybody's got to be super comfortable in the U.S. Like, you know, like, it just, you're inside your home's got to be comfortable, which makes sense except for when I'm in my home state of Arkansas and it's, like, super hot outside and it's super cold inside. I'm like, I'm going to get sick. This is not healthy. But... it's fine. You get used to it. We don't really need air conditioning. We're fine. It's not like we're dying. We have shade.
That's true.
Which is our roofs if you're, have one of those. But yeah, it's fine. I think it's fine. So we have news for you today. But before we start that, we have a couple of announcements of events happening in Chile. Now, due to the change which we'll talk about later, us going back into phase 3 in the metropolitan region, we've had some adjustments to these events. Unfortunately, the event that's this weekend, the Halloween party for the Chistolas, has been canceled to the public because of the limited seating. Now, the horrible movie night, which is where you come and you can watch a horrible movie, Pengüino and I will be there. It's going to be hilarious. It's going to be Sharknado. And it's free. It's just fun. That has not been canceled. That's still going on. It's at the Black Rock Pub, November 11th, which is a Thursday. More info is going to be on our Instagram at Chile Today Podcast. And then also there is a pub quiz or a bilingual trivia night, which is going to be super fun. And that's still on November 27th at the Black Rock Pub. So those are still a go. And if you have events that you want to advertise, just let us know because we want to get you guys more involved in the community and everything. So, jumping right into what I was talking about, everybody...
I think I was nodding while you were talking, so yeah, I'm just saying that, yeah, those are interesting events.
Yeah!
You can't see me nodding for this thing.
No, and they're fun. We
We'll expect to see you there.
Yeah, Pengüino and I really like the horrible movie nights. I went to one when I was in Los Angeles visiting my brother, and I was like, this is hilarious. This is so fun. Like, it's such an easy way to meet people. So I really like it. Have fun doing it.
And they really like watching movies, so, it's fun.
Yeah, and
watching movies.
The movie's going to be in English, but there'll be Spanish subtitles. So if you have friends that only speak Spanish, it's totally accessible to everybody. So come hang out, have a few beers, meet some new people, say hi to us. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you there. So jumping right into the fact that the metropolitan region has gone back to phase 3. This happened October 27th. And the government has changed, like it's not exactly the phase 3 that you think. Basically, the changes are you have to have a pase de movilidad, your mobility pass, in order to enter certain places that are closed, like movie theaters and restaurants. And then the amount of people you can have in closed spaces has also changed. So depending on what your closed space is, depending on if it's your home or if you have a restaurant, depending on how big your restaurant is, you need to check those rules out. So social events, so the Undersecretary of Healthcare Network, Alberto Dognac, further confirmed that this will change, it changes today, right, while we're recording this.
Yeah, no, well, when it releases Thursday.
Okay, so yeah, when you hear this, that is when the changes. There is no change to the curfew, so don't worry about that. You can still stay out, hang out wherever you are, as long as you're not exceeding the mobility pass restrictions. So people without a mobility pass, you can't have more than 10 people at a social gathering, or even if it's outdoors. So we have more, the reason why we started this phase 3 is because we have more than 1,000 new infections nationwide almost every single day. And Enrique París, the health minister, explained that the government has been super concerned about the situation in the metropolitan region for some time, and said, which in some days has exceeded 3% positivity of PCR tests. The Chilean government has also expressed concern over the ICU, patients.
People,
yeah, right. Yeah. The amount of people
the availability of ICU beds.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons there's like strict ways that you have to like go into phase 4, phase 3, or phase 2, and it's one of the biggest ones is how many ventilators are available and how many ICU beds. So Chile currently has, as of Wednesday, as of the 27th, 9,973 active cases, which is the highest number since July 20th, where there were 10,400 active cases, which means people can still infect others even if they are asymptomatic. So, so we have about a 3% positivity rate in the metropolitan region. The borders are still open if you're concerned about that, so don't worry. You can still travel here as a tourist. Just make sure you're vaccinated, make sure you have insurance. Those are two of the requirements. So Sebastián Piñera also stressed the importance of individual preventative hygiene measures and a continued use of face masks and physical distancing if we want to beat the health crisis. So currently nearly 13.6 million Chileans have received 2 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine. A total of 39 million doses have been administered so far, and only 1.2 million Chileans remain wholly unvaccinated compared to other countries. We're doing really good with the vaccines, but because of infections are again on the rise, Piñera has said that he wants to adopt a more uncompromising approach towards the unvaccinated, saying, we are going to be tougher and more demanding so that everyone gets vaccinated, because that is the second great instrument that we have. Because even if you are vaccinated, you can still get the virus, right? And so the idea is, if you're getting the virus and you're not vaccinated, you're going to take up those ICU beds, right? So Coquimbo's Regional Health Secretary Alejandro Garcia expressed frustration at those who are unvaccinated, because in his region, the ICU bed occupancy rate is 82%, and 30% of the cases come from unvaccinated people. So this has put the region's health apparatus under tremendous stress, especially given that the region has Chile's second highest positivity rate at 5%. That is crazy for Coquimbo. Like, what is going on in Coquimbo?
I have no idea. I think Coquimbo is very rural. Rural?
Yeah, rural. But, like, you would think that maybe a place that's more rural would have more social distancing, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird that Coquimbo specifically is the one that having a lot of problem. I would have guessed that maybe in the south they were going to have a lot more problems with the unvaccinated and the issues with the rising cases. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't get that. I mean, maybe there's a connection between like access to vaccines at some place that's so rural. I don't know. If you're from Coquimbo or you live there and you know what's going on, message us at Chile Today Podcast on Instagram or email us chiletodaypodcast@gmail.com. We're super curious. So Pengüino and I have both gotten our third dose.
Yes.
I got my third dose on Monday. Both of us had the first two Sinovacs and then the third as Pfizer. So pay attention to those third dose announcements because our age group are getting them this week. So don't worry, if you've missed your day because you weren't paying attention, you can go next week. Don't worry, just bring a book because the lines are long. But yeah, go get your third dose. It's good. I didn't have any symptoms. Did you on your third?
No, I mean, I was just very tired and my arm hurt for the day, but
my arm didn't even hurt.
Yeah, no, I had more of an effect with the first Sinovac dose than with the Pfizer.
That's interesting. People are, I don't know, it's really hit and miss, I guess. I'm proud of my body. My body was like, nah, we're good. We're good. Keep going. Keep doing that.
Yeah, because the thing about the third dose is that they're getting a lot more stricter with the requirements for the pase de movilidad.
Right. They've already said that if you're 55 or older, your pase de movilidad is not valid if you don't have your third dose. So that's coming. Blocked. Yeah, it'll get blocked. So that's coming around the bend for our age group at some point. So get your third dose. You know, that is going to affect, especially now we're in phase 3, it's going to affect if you can do things like go to the mall, go to the movies, do certain things like that. So keep that in mind and get your third vaccine.
Yeah, because I think starting November 1st, you're going to get a lot more strict with requiring the pase movilidad for going to the movies and going.
Yeah, I've been to the movie theater twice recently when we were in phase 4. Because I finally felt comfortable and I was going on off hours, but before you could even enter the movie theater, even in phase 4, you had to have a pase de movilidad. Okay. So they were still requiring that, and that might just be the movie theater I was going to. I'm not sure what those requirements are for movie theaters, but.
Oh, I also know first they're going to be lowering the ages. That was it. Because right now they're vaccinating. I think if you're under 15, you don't need to show your mobility pass. But now, but starting November 1st, you will have to, if you're from 9 to, if you're under 9, they're not going to ask, but if you're over 9, then you're going to have to.
Right, so children will have to show theirs too. I saw a lot of kids getting vaccinated when I was standing in line for mine. So, I mean, we're hitting the rest of the population. I mean, that's another thing that we don't consider in this. Like, a lot of children are unvaccinated. They're bringing it home to their families and then spreading it around. So
in schools.
And schools
are just teeming with bacteria normally.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who used to work in a public school, like your first couple weeks of school in the school year, you're gonna get sick because you're around snotty, gross children who just wipe their noses with the back of their hands and then cough right in your face when they're asking you a question. So, and that's teenagers. That's not even small children.
That's very specific to sound like just off the cuff.
Yeah, just like, Miss Francis, can I? Like, right? I'm like, okay, now I'm dying. So anyway, protect yourself. That's the news for COVID right now. So what do you have for us, Diego?
Well, I have an interesting story here. A bit of a controversy. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but whatever. Controversy. So the other day, on October 24th, at the beginning of the week, the newspaper El Mercurio, which is one of the biggest newspapers in Chile. Mm-hmm. They did a huge piece on Hermann Göring.
Oh, God.
Sort of remembering it's been 75 years since his death. And they explained about his life, and they sort of did a small homage to him. Do you know who Hermann Göring was?
So I have heard about this controversy. I was like, my jaw fell to the floor. I was like, who was like, I'm gonna do this? Okay, but explain to our audience who this is.
So Hermann Göring, was the successor of Hitler. He is responsible for numerous war crimes during World War II, and he was the founder of the Gestapo.
Why did they do a profile? Like, is he Chilean?
No.
Why did they do it? They just randomly did a profile of this guy?
Because it's 75 years since his death. Which, by the way, he died in Nuremberg during the war crime trials.
Who fucking wrote this?
I have no idea, but
it doesn't credit who wrote it.
I don't think it does.
Who wrote the article?
Well, I mean, I can't. I could probably find that information, but I don't know if I want to.
Go down that
open up whole thing. But yeah, like
we were gonna shame him on public podcast.
But yeah, like I don't understand how it happened, or because for a big newspaper. Okay, so we write for Chile Today, and we have at least 2 people who have to approve articles before they go up.
Sure, and that's we're a volunteer newspaper.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering in Mercurio, how many people said, "Oh yeah, we should publish this."
This sounds like a good idea. And so obviously communities and people are extremely mad, right?
In fact, the German embassy in Chile said that they publicly said that it's not our place to tell other newspapers in other countries what they should or shouldn't do. But it is not a good idea to write about this character who was responsible for numerous war crimes and who was one of the pillars of the Nazi regime. We should not even allow the smallest amount of space to justify or minimize moral or politically. I think I am butchering this. I am sort of
butchering.
Yeah.
Butchering.
I'm just translating this on the fly. Basically, they messed up. Germany
embassy, was not cool with
it. They were angry, and numerous other the presidential candidates also all of them said about how this was wrong. This is Nazi apologizing.
Even Kast said that.
Yes, Kast. Even Kast said that. Even Kast said that, although it did take longer than most of the other ones. Because the thing is that Kast is his grandfather. He's directly related to a Nazi officer who escaped the trials by coming here to Chile. So that, and obviously the Jewish community was also outraged at this, and so El Mercurio in the next newspaper took out an apology, which I read the apology. It was this tiny small paragraph on the side of the margins that said, "We do not want Nazi. We do not apologize for the Nazi crimes. We were just informing about blah 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 blah."
Right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I'm still confounded about how this was approved. Who thought it was a good idea? And why?
I don't get it. Like, what is? I mean, he's not chill. Like, what?
Yeah, there's no relation. That's what really. It's really confusing.
I don't.
Because it's not even. Because did you see the page? It was a double spread.
Oh my gosh!
It was like a huge thing.
No, I just saw the reports of it, and like I saw them publish it, and then I was like, "The fuck!" And then I saw immediately people who responded to it. Like, the Jewish community, obviously in Chile, is so hurt and offended by this, rightfully so. Well, let's go on to something else that's super depressing. So the UN actually is criticizing the excessive use of pretrial detention from the Carabineros. So the UN's newest report on human rights abuses during the social uprising that started in 2019 finds pretrial detention has been used excessively, particularly against crime suspects. It also urged judicial moderation. Quote, pretrial detention should not be the general rule, but the exception. Referring to official figures, the report highlights a, quote, dissonance and inconsistency between institutions related to the number of current detainees. The situation is reflected in the UN not being able to access up-to-date official figures. Go figure. Go figure, those official figures, right? And the report emphasized the need to reform the Carabineros police force as any rectification of protocols, quote, must be harmonized with international law. Amnesty International's recent report published on the second anniversary of the social uprising urged reform also. Acknowledging the reduction in the use of riot guns, the UN report warned against the, quote, inappropriate use of tear gas canisters. Girl, man, those things are ratchet. So the
Not fun.
not fun. Those things come out like grenade, like those. The first time I ever saw them shoot at one of those canisters towards people, and I was very close, I thought it was like a rocket launcher. Like, so what is that? Like, they're huge.
Yeah, no, I've seen it. I haven't seen them fire, but I have seen them. They've landed right next to me.
Oh my gosh!
And it is very, it just comes down like hard.
It's a giant piece of metal.
Yeah.
That's like, if you get hit with, somebody did get hit with one of those, like I think a year ago or a year and a half ago,
I've gotten hit by those,
and like died, and like because they're hot, they're huge, they're like giant. Like, they're just like crazy.
They're big cans.
Yeah,
like,
they're
imagine
big
throwing
cans.
one of those like lisoform, because that's around how it's shaped.
Yeah.
Man, one of those coming at you like at 100 kilometers per hour.
Yeah, lisoform is like Lysol.
Yeah, like one
Yeah.
of those air
Like,
spray thingies.
Yeah, just coming at you, fired from a gun that exploded, coming at you full speed.
And shooting gas that just...
And shooting gas. It's
Yeah.
not shooting Lysol, my
Yeah.
friends. It's not like making Santiago smell better and disinfecting, which seems like something that one of the candidates might suggest. Like, in order to avoid COVID, let's shoot out Lisoform cans.
That would not surprise me. Like putting the guanacos that shoot instead of water, it shoots
Right.
out like Lysol.
Didn't
Lysol.
they do that in like La Reina? They like ordered everybody inside and like disinfected the streets.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
even after they were like, that doesn't work. Like, they were like, don't go outside, it'll poison you.
Yeah, not only in La Reina, I think a lot of La Reina. I think in a lot of comunas, municipalities, they did that where they just, you can't come out. We're gonna start fumigating everything in the early days.
But I think that in La Reina, they did it like way after, like this year. And it was like, why are you doing
Yeah.
How much money did you spend on this, guys?
Probably. Well, interesting fact: the mayor of La Reina is currently under investigation for missing funds.
Funds.
Yeah.
Funds. So that's great. Who is
Rodolfo Carter, the guy who every
from
time
Chile Vamos?
I don't know. I think he's independent but affiliated with Chile Vamos.
Oh, okay.
He's the guy who's gotten like a lot. He says he hasn't gotten surgeries, but you see his lips and they're just like every time fuller.
Yes, the guy with the lip injections. I mean, do what you do, boo. I don't care about that. But like the embezzling funds, like don't do that. Don't do that.
Maybe that's how he afforded the lip injection.
Right, he embezzled funds for his lip injections. Oh my goodness.
That would be funny.
If they put that back, they're like, and he used it for, that would be such a scandal. I love it. So the UN further criticized Chilean police for not aiding those injured during protests and condemned, quote, harassment and violence against health brigades, human rights observers, and journalists. So once again, the lack of progress in investigating claims of police brutality has been a cause for concern. While the UN valued the efforts by both the Controller's Office and the Public Prosecutor's Office to investigate cases, it said that there are sirens. That's very apropos during
fits
this.
it.
Yeah. So it said, quote, progress is insufficient in most investigations. Khan Harab, UN human rights representative in South America, said, quote, a generalized sense of helplessness is observed among the victims of the social uprising, with the report identifying, quote, a lack of recognition of the responsibility of the state. Which I really feel, because, like, there have been so many, like, human rights violations for the Carabineros, and, like, nothing has been done.
Oh, you don't know the half of it.
Girl, don't
There's
tell
a
me.
lot of
Oh,
stuff
man.
in the Carabineros. It is a shady organization. And
Shady.
I'm just going to say this. I actually have family members in the Carabineros.
How dare you?
Because people always say, like, oh, you criticize them so much when you talk to them. Yeah, I do talk to them every year at Christmas, people.
Why don't you talk to them? No, thank you. I already have to.
So, yeah, the Carabineros has a lot of there's just a lot of shady stuff in there because I've like read about their history and stuff like that, and yeah,
There's a really good article on Chile Today about the history.
Written by a handsome young man.
Handsome young penguin.
So yeah, they've been due for a good renovation for a while now because it's just not working out. I mean, and
they're in complete denial too.
Yeah,
and that's what. It's not like they're giving like really empty apologies or something, because that still would be empty. It's like they're completely like, no, we stand by all of the actions that they have done, and it's just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. Plus, the Carabiners, I think they're going to be celebrating their 100th anniversary soon.
Oh, gross. Oh,
so,
man.
yeah, that's... but I think there have been a lot of talk... Well, not with the current government, obviously, but there have been a lot of talks of doing deep changes into the Carabiners organization, and even the possibility of founding them again, so to speak. Which I think is the first time that it's really been brought up by presidential candidates in the Constitutional Convention and Congress in general.
Well, hopefully we'll give you election coverage as it approaches. It's really soon. It's in November. You know, our next 2 episodes are going to be really deep with that, so we'll keep you updated. And we'll see what happens, like which candidate wins. If that's going to happen, we'll keep you updated.
If we go to a second, because here in Chile we have the election, and then if no candidate gets 50% of the votes, then we go to a second round.
How sexy would it be if we didn't have to do a second round? Because I'm real tired of voting, guys.
Yeah.
Not that I can vote, but I'm real tired of, like, because I'm that person that makes all my friends vote. I'm real tired of dragging people out of their houses to get them to go vote. Because we've had a lot of votes. A lot of votes.
I actually took count of, and it turns out in the past year I've gone to vote more times than I've had dates.
Aw, Pengüino! That's... Aw, baby.
Funny/sad.
Aw. Okay, what's the next thing you have for us?
Okay, so speaking of presidential candidates, I want to talk about a bit of a, as we say in Chile, cacarita that's been happening on the right wing yesterday.
Some shit going down.
So basically, a lot of members of the right wing coalition is called Chile Vamos, which is made up of 3 main parties, which is Evopolis, RN, and the UDI. So the problem is the Chile Vamos is supporting their presidential candidate is Sebastián Sichel, who's more center-right. So the more extreme people in the Chile Vamos decided that they're going to openly support Cast.
Right.
Which goes against the idea that they had a primary, so the point was that they all support the same candidate.
Right.
But now there's been the more extreme members want to go to Cast, so Sichel yesterday had to do a press conference to be first of all tell these people off because it's going against the deal they made at the beginning.
Right, the coalition. They're going against the coalition, right?
And so Sichel just said, if you want to support Cast, go ahead.
Oh.
Giving the go ahead to anyone inside Chile.
So he's basically giving up.
Yeah,
pretty much. Giving up.
Pretty much, because I think, Cast has had, according to the polls, he has had a lot of, risen up a lot.
Right, he's getting the support Sichel used to have.
Yeah, because Sichel has basically been...
He's just fallen from grace so bad.
Yes, because he's messed up the debate so bad, and every time he gets accused of something, he says, no, that's fake, and then the next day...
It comes out.
Yeah.
And then he's like, haha, Boric, you were in the hospital for drugs, and then the hospital's like, no, that never... So he's making false accusations too, so he just looks like a complete idiot.
Yeah, so now basically Sichel told Chile Vamos that they could do whatever they wanted, giving them free reign to do whatever they want in the support whoever they want, which basically means I think Sichel's done, and it means that Chile Vamos will have a big talk further on about how to go ahead, because I know that a lot of people in Chile Vamos don't want to support Cast.
Right. A lot of people don't. So I don't know what's going to happen. I remember in the last presidential election, there were a lot of people there were a lot of people on the left who refused to vote because they did not, who was it? It was like Guillermo?
Yeah.
Because they believed that, it was Guillermo and Piñera, because a lot of them believed that Guillermo was just like Piñera, but just like a different flavor. and they thought it was more shameful because he claimed to be from the left, but he wasn't. So, for example, a lot of my friends, my boyfriend included, like, went to the polling station and then put, like, an X, like, meaning, like, abstain.
Oh, like, yeah.
I abstain from voting because a lot of my friends still think it's important to, like, show your voice, even if it's abstain. Like, you still go to the polls, you still do that. But because they believed it was just the same. So I wonder if the right will do that. I doubt it. The right's typically like anything as long as it's not a leftist, you know?
That's true. But I have heard or read interviews of right-wing candidates, well, former candidates, who said that if they had to choose between, if they couldn't support each other, they'd probably prefer Proboste over
yeah, because
Kast.
she's more moderate. Proboste is more moderate.
So yeah, that's basically. I think it was Mario Desbordes, he was the presidential candidate for the National Renewal Party, which is Piñera's former party, because Piñera, I think he dropped out of everything. Piñera just doesn't care anymore.
He's done. He's had a rough couple years. I mean, it's his fault. Like, he's just made, like, whoever it was, his PR dude needs to be fired. But he's just made so many mistakes, and I think he's just tired. He's like, why? I'm a billionaire. Why am I doing this? I should be like, buy an island and just stay there and just drink Mai Tais for the rest of your life, dude.
I think he's probably going to do that. I mean,
what are you doing? Why are you trying to run a country? That just sounds exhausting. I mean, I'm exhausted just thinking about trying to run a country. I'm running a podcast and a comedy group. Like, I don't have enough time to run a country.
And run a country in the middle of a social uprising.
A social uprising and then a pandemic.
Yeah, back to back.
Didn't he say, like, a few months ago, like, this has been the worst 2 years of my life? Or 3 years of my life?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, man. I wonder what would have happened, like, if he wasn't the president, if, for example, if Beatriz Sanchez, who was the leftist candidate during the last election, had won, would we have had the social uprising to get the Constitution changed?
Well, no, because the Constitution would have changed either way. Because before Piñera, Bachelet started the process to change the Constitution.
And Bello was we're gonna continue that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Piñera put a stop to it.
Yeah, because
on the second day he got not Piñera, his Minister of Interior gave his speech and said that that's not what we want to do. We're not going to do that.
Sure, and he never supported it.
Behold, 2 years after, we're getting a new constitution either way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll like Bethany said, we're going to have a more in-depth coverage about the candidates and what's going to happen with the elections. We're less than a month away because I think it's November 21st.
Yeah, so on our next episode, we're going to have to deep dive into that. So we'll keep you updated on that. If you are eligible to vote, you go vote. If you do not know if you're eligible to vote, you can go to the voting website and just put in your route, and it will tell you if you can vote. And it'll tell you where to go to vote, and it's super, super easy. So, and if you have questions about that, you can always message us at Chile Today Podcast on Instagram or email us chiletodaypodcast@gmail.com. Okay, so for today, for our Halloween episode, I find murders and disappearances and things like that fascinating. Maybe that's really dark, but I thought, okay, so maybe we'll take this Halloween spooky, creepy, moment to talk about some cases of disappearances, mysterious disappearances in Chile. So for my case in particular, trigger warning for small children death.
We're gonna put timestamps so you can skip this part if you desire.
We're gonna end with Pengüinos because his was about an adult, so I guess it's a less triggering for some people. I don't know, or you can just skip
He's
this.
Over 18, he can disappear.
He's fine. It's not nearly as So
no, but yeah, I get it. It's understandable.
Yeah, so if you want to skip this one, go listen to his, or just listen to the news. That's fine. But that's what we're doing today. So I'm going to cover the case of Rodrigo Anfruns. So on June 3rd, 1979, the family of Rodrigo Anfruns reported him missing. He was playing in the garden in front of his grandparents' house in Providencia when he suddenly disappeared. The entire country became part of the desperation of the family who clamored for the safe and sound return of the small child who was presumed to have been kidnapped. So they made emotional calls to the news, to television, to try to obtain the liberation because they really thought he was kidnapped of little Rodrigo. So the police mobilized different resources, and this was during the dictatorship, so the dictatorship also was collaborating. However, there were no leads to the whereabouts of the small child. So after 11 days of agony on June 14th, Anfruns' lifeless body was found in a vacant lot located at the foot of his grandparents' house, which had been searched on several occasions, including with the help of trained dogs. So this was like a very controversial, mysterious moment because they were like, he was just there at the bottom of this hill and nobody found him. And like the whole country was helping search for this little boy. So the culprit, according to the investigative police at the time, was a minor under 16 years of age, identified only with the initials of PPV, who we now know as Patricio Pinchera Villalobos, and he admitted to the crime and led the detectives to the scene after his confession. So, as I said, the people started to suspect some different situation, like that it wasn't really him. Almost immediately because nobody had found the body and they had searched specifically there many times and it was so close to his grandparents' house.
Yeah, it's very suspicious, everything.
Yeah, really so so the judge, Ricardo Galvez, who later became a Supreme Court judge, he initially closed the case and he was given a formal congratulations from La Moneda, the dictatorship at the time. And it was like praised that he did such a good job on this case. However, as I said, there were numerous doubts about the case, especially how the body had spent, as I said, 11 days in this vacant lot. Always made the family really uncomfortable that there was not really legal resolution of this. So, according to a thesis developed by the book A Pending Truth by journalist Soledad Pino, Rodrigo Anfruns' Papi was kidnapped by mistake, this is what he alleges, by the agents of the dictatorship security services due to personal quarrels between the family and armed forces. So, obviously the secret police denied this. They mistakenly believed that the family was participating in arms trafficking. And so they kidnapped the minor to intimidate his family.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so this is what this book alleges. So they believe, this person alleges that the perpetrators killed the little boy, Rodrigo, and covered up the murder. And were able to do that because of the power that they had in the dictatorship. But in 2004, so this actually happened in the 70s, but in 2004, which is post-dictatorship, the family of Rodrigo testified that she saw a CNI vehicle pick up her son and take him away. She said that she didn't know like the number of the vehicle, but she was like, it was the typical like green vehicle that if you live in Chile, like you recognize, that has like, it's the one where they arrest people in during like protests and stuff. And he believes the father that his son was a victim of torture and murder. So in 2005, a visiting minister reopened the case due to these accusations, only to close it a year later, claiming there was no evidence to suggest that the confessed 16-year-old wasn't the one responsible. However, the investigation was activated again in 2007 until mid-2009, when again it was closed. So finally, in 2010, the Court of Appeals decided a third time in 5 years to order new proceedings. Among these new procedures ordered by the Appeals Court is a new report from Legal Medical Services, SML, with experts analyzing the death of the minors, and also the Carabineros Intelligence Directory made an analysis of the contradictions in the police versions of finding the body. So there were also like contradictions of how it happened, where it happened, like why the dogs didn't find this body, why people didn't find it. find it. So they also questioned Manuel Contreras, which is the former director of DINA, which is the secret police, and the CNI agents who were involved to determine how they participated in the events. So they actually ended up in 2011 exhuming the body, and they determined that he had been killed only 48 hours before he was found. So he had been kidnapped for 9-ish days and then killed.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so they also found evidence of torture, including cigarette burns on his body. But for his part, the Supreme Court spokesperson Nivaldo Segura stated that resolution in these things does not imply that that the secret police were involved. So no charges have been filed towards anybody, and the case has not moved forward. And that's what we have so far for that. But it sounds like, because it is not unknown for children to be abducted and tortured and murdered during the dictatorship. That's, if you go to the memorial in the National Museum, you see kids on the memorial, like 9 years old infants who were killed by the secret police.
Yeah, during the, oh God, yeah. Well,
and that was in 79, so that was like right at the beginning of the dictatorship.
Yeah, right at the beginning. What did Manuel Contreras say? I didn't. Or did they just ask him and
they just said that he was interviewed to determine if he participated in the events, but there's nothing in this article that says what he said exactly. I'm sure he was like, no, I didn't do it.
No, because Manuel Contreras, he was backstabbed by Pinochet, so after that he just told everything.
Oh, he spilled all the beans.
Yeah.
I mean, he might not have known. I mean, they were rounding up so many people back in those days and killing them. He might not have known specifically if this child...
Yeah, plus we're talking, where was it?
In Provincia.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, this is in the center. They're rounding people up. I mean, I'm sure they didn't have... A lot of
people throughout Santiago in general. So
yeah, I mean, maybe it was just a branch of the DINA who, like I said, they were given mistaken information that this family was, or according to this book, this family had done arms deals and were trying to intimidate the family by killing the child.
Yeah, unfortunately, there were a lot of instances of people just giving false information because they didn't like someone.
Yeah, that happens a lot during in dictatorships. Yeah, you don't like this person, they took over your they took over your business, or you don't like them, and you're like, oh, these people are communists, and then they end up dying for no reason. Yeah. Not that being a communist should be a reason for dying, but, false information, that's
yeah, just because you pissed the wrong person off.
Sure, yeah.
You weren't kidding when you said that was going to be tough.
Yeah, and I told you, it's a bit tough, but this is, I just thought, if we're going to talk about disappearances, we can't talk about disappearances without talking about the desaparecidos, which are the people who disappeared during the dictatorship.
A lot of them. Yeah, so, it's difficult.
Thousands. Yeah. So anyway, what's your story?
Well, mine's a little bit more lighthearted.
A lighthearted disappearance.
Yeah, it's part of a Chilean sort of like, not urban legend, but something that happened that's been in our cultural aspect for a long time. Mm-hmm. Which you probably heard. So I'm talking about the disappearance of Teniente Bello, known as Lieutenant Bello, which gave birth to the saying, estoy más perdido que el Teniente Bello, which is I'm more lost than Lieutenant Bello, which usually it doesn't mean in a loss in the geographical sense, but loss in a mental sense.
Okay.
Like if you don't know what's going on at any point, it's like, I'm estoy perdido como el Teniente
Bello. Like when I am in math class.
Exactly, like math class.
Yeah.
I also did not know about math.
No, that's why we're writers and podcasters.
Exactly.
And we don't get paid the big bucks doing whatever math people do.
Ugh. So, a little bit about his story. He was a pioneer of Chilean aviation. He disappeared in 1914. So he was born in 1889 in Santiago, but grew up in Chiloé. In 1909, he joined the army and quickly rose in ranks. And by 1913, he was a lieutenant, where that same year he started studying to earn his pilot's license, which was something new in general in the world.
Right. What year is this again?
He started studying in 1913.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so this is dated. Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about those big biplanes that Snoopy used to fly.
Oh, Snoopy.
So on the morning of March 9th, 1914, Alejandro Bello and his colleague, Lieutenant Ponce, decided they had to take their final exam, which to earn their pilot's license.
Mm-hmm.
The exam consists, can't speak today.
You got it.
The exam consisted of flying from Santiago to the coast, to Cartagena, more specifically, and back. And they would have 48 hours to do this. So at 9:30 a.m., they took off in their planes from Lo Espejo. But because of the strong winds and fog, they had to land in an airstrip in Culitrin, which is a bit south of Santiago, and wait for the weather to get better.
Mm-hmm.
At 4:55, they resumed their flight with Alejandro Bello in front and Pons behind him. So I'm going to read the official report from that day.
Okay.
At 4:55, we took off. After a 10-minute flight test, we headed west. I was behind Lieutenant Bello on the path to Cartagena. There was a strong wind coming from the coast, while a thick fog kept visibility at a minimum. I never lost sight of Bello, and at 6:20 p.m., around 20 to 30 kilometers east of Melipilla, I saw Bello turning back. I thought maybe we had gotten too high up, and he was adjusting his altitude to go underneath the clouds. When I attempted to copy him, I lost sight of him, and at that point I lost control, and the winds pushed me towards Paine. And that would be the last time anyone would see Bello and his plane.
Dun, dun, dun.
So this guy Ponce, he went back to the airstrip because he just couldn't finish the test.
Mm-hmm.
And so at first everyone just assumed that Bello was doing the test, or that maybe he had been forced to land somewhere else.
Sure.
They got multiple people saying, "Oh yeah, I saw him landing near Viña or Valparaíso." And so they just thought they were waiting to hear from him.
Sure.
But as time went on, and people noticed that no one knew anything of him, they declared him missing. So a 10-day search was put up. A 10-day search was headed by the Army, the Navy, and the police force.
Wow.
But after 10 days, they found no sign of him or his plane. So that's the last time disappeared. And since then, which was we're talking about 1914, about 100 years ago, the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy have made multiple expeditions to try to find him, but have been to no avail. The last one took place in 2006, where they thought maybe using satellites they'd be able to locate something.
Why are they still looking for this dude? Like, why is it important?
I think they maybe just pissed off that they can't find it. I mean, it's just a guy who disappeared 100 years ago. You can't find a single
trace of him.
Okay. Yeah, because there's nothing. They haven't found an airplane part or his body or.
I mean, it's obviously aliens. I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, probably. And so he's become like a sort of like myth in Chilean society, which is like, oh, the Teniente Bello, he's lost. Yeah.
He's still in the air somewhere.
Yeah.
Dead, but because he's 100 years old. Or more than that.
Probably. Maybe he's with Hitler.
Yeah. Hitler's still alive somewhere in Argentina with Bello.
Yeah. Because, I mean, back then, we're talking about a plane from 1940. It can't go that far.
No, it's very rudimentary. Like, no.
Back then, it was plywood and canvas.
Well, I mean, at this point, if it's plywood and canvas, it's probably gone. It's got composted.
Oh, that is true.
So, I mean, like, what are you even looking for at this point?
The engine? I don't know.
The engine was made out of paper planes, dude. No,
they had, like, a huge rubber band and just threw them.
There was a hamster inside the engine.
Yeah.
Poor hamster.
That's the Teniente Bello. So if you ever hear the saying, you're more lost than Lieutenant Bello.
That's what it's from. Means. I didn't know that. That's super interesting.
Yeah. So, I think maybe because he was one of the pioneers of Chilean aviation, maybe there's something about trying to find him and sort of honor him in a way.
Man, all the pioneers of Chilean culture are not...
Oh, yeah, they're lost.
Didn't do too well.
No.
I mean, like, even, like, what is it? Like, the Esmeralda, the most important, like, battle in Chilean history, like we lost that battle.
Oh yeah, and this medal that was, I think it's still in underwater in the Iquique.
Yeah, in Prat, we like are like, oh, Prat, and I'm like, he didn't. Okay.
He died.
He died in that battle, dude.
Yeah.
Why are we celebrating him? Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there are people who are like, don't you dare talk bad about Prat.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who defend a lot. Well, especially people from the Navy, because it's, Arturo Prat.
Arturo Prat, the godfather of the Navy. I don't know why I just turned Russian. But Russian and I said godfather. I'm not good at accents, okay?
So yeah, I think maybe in the army there's more of like a sense of finding these people and seeing what they did and honoring them.
Fascinating. I think disappearances are fast, especially those kinds of disappearances. Mine was a little heavy, but like that, which is so mysterious. Like what happened, like, and we'll never know. I mean, maybe we'll know. Maybe they'll find a piece of plywood and be like, this is a very specific type of polished plywood used in 1913 planes. And then we'll be like, we found him. And then 2 days later, we'll be like, onto something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
or maybe it crashed somewhere and people just used the plywood to build their houses.
I mean,
that happens a lot.
Right. Like, oh, cool. This is very sturdy wood.
Yeah.
What a cute hamster. I'm going to keep it as a pet. Yeah. Like, let's hope that happened. Or maybe he's still out there and he just like got sick and just was like, I don't like being a pilot anymore. I'm going to live my life on a farm or something.
Maybe. I think that's happened before.
Before? Again, Hitler.
Oh, yeah. He's got a farm in south of Argentina.
In south of Argentina. Yep. There you go.
Yeah, so that was the disappearance of Alejandro Bello.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed this episode. I mean, I'm kind of dark and twisty, so that's why I enjoyed this episode. But thank you so much, Pengüino, for coming on and being the guest today.
Well, thanks for letting me speak.
Yeah, you're welcome. It'll never happen again.
I can assure you,
yeah. So don't forget about the events, the horrible movie night on November 11th and the trivia night on November 27th. Those are limited seating, so if you want to go, you need to show up early. For the trivia night, you have to reserve a spot, but they're not taking reservations quite yet. But we'll let you know, and it'll be posted on the Instagram at Chile Today Podcast and the Facebook Chile Today Podcast. So keep an eye on those, and thank you for listening. And when in doubt,
Gringo out.
Penguin out. Yeah,
penguin
bye.
out. Because I'm not gringo, so it just...
Yeah. Hey guys, the Chile Today podcast is produced by Diego Pengüino Rivera. It is written by Alicia Lubin and Bethany Francis in conjunction with ChileToday.cl. Hope you enjoy.